Hey everybody, welcome to our third episode of Girls on Boys. I'm your part-time lover, Rebecca Watson, and this is your other part-time lover, Kaveh Hoda.
Hey everyone.
Wow.
How we doing?
Yeah, that was good. That was good. I don't know why I said part-time lover
I
instead
love that
of
song.
co-host.
The second you said it, I was like, part-time lover.
I saw you like bobbing.
Oh, it's a great tune.
It is
a great tune.
It's a banger.
Has nothing to do with this episode.
Nothing.
But I am all for it.
Nothing at all.
Wait, Billy Ocean?
Mm-hmm.
Billy Zane?
Yes. Oh,
Billy connection.
I happened to pause it at the right moment. Like, I was having a discussion with my partner, had to pause it and looked up and was like, and Amazon Prime, they do not pay us for this promotion, but I do love it. Like when you pause it, it tells you the actors in the scene. So I looked up, I was like, holy shit, it's Billy Zane.
Who, this is his second appearance in the show.
What?
Yes. So I love how they did this. So do you remember when they had, this wasn't the Easter egg that I told you that I found?
Yeah, he did. Kaveh texted me with a supposed Easter egg. I'm really excited because I have some Easter eggs myself.
Okay, very good. Also, I am not 100% positive I'm using that term correctly, but
that's fine. Yeah. I'm not 100% positive I'm saying your name correctly.
No, you're doing pretty good. Kaveh like agave, pretty good.
Okay, I'm never sure if it's more of a like Kaveh.
No, colder. No, you do. And I also understand it's very stressful for people. Like when I meet them, I can see the stress in their eyes, and I'm like, "Hey, it's okay. You can." And then they'll be like, "Chavers," and I'll be like, "No, where did you get that? How did you go so wrong?" I'm trying to be open-minded.
Well,
but
and when I first became acquainted with you, I only knew you as Kaveh, but I wasn't sure if it was. I don't know why I was confused if it was an I or an EH at the end, and then I didn't know your last name, so I put you in my phone as Guy from the
House of Pod.
House of Pod.
Yeah.
Which did turn up on, you did clock that when I posted a screenshot of our text.
Well, it shows up as Kaveh G on your like text profile, which I think is actually kind of cool. Like if I were to, if I were to be like a G. Anyways,
you're a G.
So getting back to Billy Zane.
Yes.
So in this episode, he's in the movie, the movie within a movie.
Yes.
For the Deep's new movie. It's like a Lifetime Vought for Women sort of channel about that whole Scientology thing. Yeah. But he was in I think the first season, he was in a movie with Popclaw, the Wolverine stand-in.
Was he?
Yeah. He was in that movie, I think, I'm pretty sure that was it. And he was at like a signing at like Comic-Con. So I love that Billy Zane enters into the whole boys universe, and he's a recurring character. I hope they keep doing that. I love it.
Love it too. No, so for those of you who are new, just stop listening. Go back and listen to the first episode. We describe what this is all about. But if you don't
what's wrong with you?
But also, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I would just keep listening to this. I would be in bed listening to this, just trying to listen to something calm to fall asleep. So let's assume that that's you. This is a podcast where we talk about the Amazon show, The Boys. It's a superhero satire. You should be vaguely familiar with the plot at least, but if you're not, we did decide ahead of time that we will describe the episodes in detail. So if you are concerned with spoilers, today we'll be talking about The Boys Season 3, Episode 2, The Only Man in the Sky. So if you're concerned about spoilers, you should stop, but if you have seen it or you don't care about spoilers, we'll describe it to you so you know what's going on. I am nobody except for a mouthy online feminist, and Kaveh is a gastroenterologist.
Very good. Also, I take umbrage with you saying that you are a nobody. I think you are one of the most entertaining people on social media.
Oh, go on.
I absolutely love your work, from everything from Quizatron, which is a really fun show.
Which you have been on, and you were great.
Which I have been on, and I love that show. I was not great. I sucked at it.
You were great.
But it does, that listen, don't cater. But also your videos are, I think, really top notch and really second to none. So anyways, sorry, go on.
Anyway, the point being, we're just two friends who enjoy the show and want to talk about it slightly too seriously.
Yeah. Make it a little weird. We're going to make it a little weird how much we talk about it.
And last time we recorded, I was like 3 rosés deep. And this time, what I did not reveal to Kaveh until this very moment is that I just came back from a camping trip where I made all my friends canoe for 3 miles. And I was like, it's nothing, everybody. It's fine. And my back is fucked. So I'm on muscle relaxers at this very moment. And I've just poured myself this
lovely.
We got a whiskey we were in Mendocino and they had like a local whiskey.
So I'm going to be watching you very carefully this whole time to make sure we don't get a Heath Ledger thing going on here. I'm going to be on you like a fox.
Don't worry. My husband is in the next room ready to pounce.
All right, good. Yeah.
So, but I apologize in advance. But honestly, Kaveh, we just got back from Mendocino and I just literally 2 hours ago, I finished watching this episode and I loved it so much that halfway through I started taking notes because there was so much I loved about this episode.
I have pages.
You have notes? Oh my God.
I'm showing her my notebook I have.
He's got a notebook, you guys.
Yeah. It's a composition book and it has my name on it. You see that?
It's got that pebbled black and white marbled composition. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm very excited to talk about it.
All right. So let's jump in. We open on, as you mentioned, the Billy Zane starring, it's a Lifetime movie adaptation of the Deep's interaction with his cult, which is Scientology. And Kaveh, when they cut to Not Without My Dolphin, I screamed and I paused. That was my first pause. It was like 30 seconds in. I turned to my partner and I said, are you familiar with the Lifetime original movie Not Without My Daughter, starring someone, probably Sissy Spacek? I don't know.
Sally Field. Trust me, I know.
Sally
I'll tell
Field.
you why.
Thank you.
Because the movie ruined dating lives of Iranian men all over the world.
Was it an Iranian?
Yes. The premise for people who don't remember Not Without My Daughter was Sally Field marries this Iranian guy played by Alfred Molina, by the way.
It was Alfred Molina? I love him.
Oh, I don't. I'll tell you. So here's what happens. This is the movie based on a true story. He takes his wife and their kid to Iran, where he's like this normal, loving American dude. But when he gets back to Iran and he's under the pressure of the Iranian culture, his innate evil Iranianness comes out and he becomes an abusive piece of shit.
Yeah.
And she has to escape through the mountains using the Kurds, which that part of it's probably true. The Kurds are really dope people and they're really great and they probably would help somebody in a situation like that. But still, it's so fucked up. And I was a young lad when that came out. And I remember there was like a couple movies that came out in the 80s where I had to be like, no, I'm Kevin. I'm Kevin Ohuda of the clan Ohuda. You know, it was one of, because I could pass easily enough.
It's time to pass.
I had to go undercover. Every now and then, like a Chuck Norris movie would come out and I had to be like, all right, I'm Kevin for a while now.
Right.
So that movie fucked up things for me. So I know this is totally an aside.
No,
totally
I'm so sorry because what I said to my husband was, I thought that was so funny because I thought that I was the only one that had the title Not Without My Daughter living rent-free in my head for 20 years. I used that as the punchline to jokes without having, I had no idea what it was about. I just thought the title was hilarious.
It is, as you should. Please continue to do that. Because
no, it's problematic now.
It's more problematic if you don't make fun of it. So continue to ridicule
Now
it.
I'm going to use Not Without My Dolphin because holy shit, that made me laugh so hard. There were a lot of, and excuse the phrase, deep cuts. Ooh.
Yeah.
There were a lot of deep cuts here. And when you said you had Easter eggs, man, I got some Easter eggs for you.
Oh shit! You're probably gonna you probably already scooped mine.
No, I can't wait to compare. I hope
All
we
right.
have different ones.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, that was. And there are a lot of throwaway gags in this about who stars in this, like a bunch of like randos, and then they switch over to the Homelander birthday special that is coming up, and that's has people like Dame Judi Dench coming in, and the cast of Riverdale, and
I thought that was nice.
Yeah, a lot of
Rascal Flatts.
Rascal Flatts, yeah. And also, our lady superhero,
Starlight,
sorry.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes.
Before we go too far, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So it starts with that. It starts with that deep movie.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to a dream sequence.
Yes.
With Butcher having a dream.
Yeah.
Who is that boy in his dream that's talking to him? Did you recognize who that was?
That was his son. That's Rebecca's son.
But he had dark hair in that cut.
Really?
I think we're gonna need to go to the video.
We might need to go to the video. Yeah, like I thought that he was so in the dream sequence, like Homelander starts speaking to Billy Butcher through the TV, and then it cuts to basically, in the previous episode, Billy is considering taking the juice that will turn him into a soup in order to fight the soups. Like, it's a really like obvious metaphor, but I don't hate it. But so it's like, are you willing to become the evil to fight the evil?
Right.
And that's what he's grappling with. And so in this dream sequence, he is stuck between Homelander taunting him, for like not being able to face off with him, not being man enough or soup enough or whatever, to, like I'm pretty sure that was, and I should mention here to our listeners, I do have, and maybe to you, Kaveh, I don't know if you know this, but I do have face blindness.
Okay.
I have prosopagnosia, so the thing where I pause it and Amazon Prime tells me who the actor is actually very helpful to me.
That is really interesting, and I wonder if that's going to help with one of the. I have a question about one of the other Easter eggs I had.
Oh, okay.
There was a special guest star. I'll just do it now.
Yeah, let's go.
There was a special guest in this episode who is a relatively famous actor who I thought was unrecognizable, actually. I did not recognize this person for who he was. Do you know who the actor who played Gunpowder, the young sidekick Bucky stand-in?
Yes, because I just recognize the beat from this show, the reveal where he turns and says something, and I immediately was like, that's somebody. Who is that? And I paused it, and I still didn't recognize the name, but my partner was immediately like, the first thing out of his mouth was, oh my God, it's young Indiana Jones.
You went with that? I was like, that's Powder. Playing Gunpowder.
Was it Powder? Oh,
yeah, that was Sean Patrick Flannery was Powder playing this
funny.
new character, Gunpowder.
I did not know that he played Powder. But yeah, he was young Indiana Jones, and he was also in Boondock Saints.
Yes, right.
The other guy, along with the guy from the
Walking
zombie.
Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just looked it up. It's not the same kid. They say,
oh,
yeah. So it's a different kid. So it's not clear. But what I'm wondering is if that was his younger brother that he was dreaming of.
Who's younger?
Butcher.
Oh, Billy.
Like, remember, that's the whole thing. Billy has this younger brother.
He did have an accent. I noticed he had an accent, and I was like, does that kid have an accent?
Yeah. See, there you go. That's what I think that was.
That's a good call. I think you might be onto something there.
Yeah. Sorry, I've been trying really hard because the last episode you caught all kinds of things I didn't. So this time I was like,
really?
Okay, I'm going to fucking pay attention this time. This time I'm paying attention.
Oh, and I love that.
I got some more. I got another one for you. It's going to blow your mind.
I have another another child mystery.
Yes.
And so, okay, so at some point, so we're jumping around a little bit, but I promise if you haven't seen the show, you won't be totally. They do this in the
episode too. They're kind of
you
all
won't
over
be
the place,
totally lost. So, Huey, ends up he gets a lead that something's happening at this, this children's home, which ends up being a foster home or not a foster, and what's that called? Where you send kids to die or whatever.
Boy, god damn it! Now I can't think of this one simple damn word. Foster home sounds okay. No, you're right. But
it's like
God bless it. What is it called when you adopt someone from a adoption house?
I only know a shelter. That's what we call it when it's dogs. That's all.
Somebody is screaming into their iPhone right now. Like, why the fuck we don't know the simple word for?
All right,
there's a bunch where people get adopted.
There's a bunch of orphans, and they are all orphans with superpowers. Okay. And so, Huey goes there because, in the previous episode, he has learned that his boss, who is, a senator or congressperson, is actually secretly a superhero who has been exploding people's heads. And she has been.
It sounds so much funnier when you say it like that.
So he goes to follow this lead up, and
at the orphanage. At the orphanage. God damn it. I can't believe a doctor and a fucking really smart scientist had a hard time.
I'm not a scientist.
Science communicator.
I'm a science enthusiast. I am recording this as a video, and I do I want to release it as a video as a bonus at some point. And so if you're watching it there, you will have just seen me biding time while Kaveh frantically types what is place where orphans go to adopt? Question mark.
It's so accurate.
So he's there. He does confirm the big news, the thrust of the storyline is that he confirms that his boss was at this orphanage and was adopted by Gus Fring.
Stan.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure it's his name.
Our evil corporate overlord. So essentially, she's not just working with the government isn't just working with the evil corporation. They are literally connected as family, which I fucking love because I'm a hippie socialist. So, but while there is a little boy who teleports around and points to, he basically tips off the orphanage person that Huey is lying about who he is. And she refers to him by name. And, I was like, that seems suspicious. So I would not have caught this otherwise. I only pick up on, cause I'm a skeptic, I think. I only pick up on suspicious things that I can then look into. So this isn't me being extremely clever. It's the internet being very clever. Turns out, that is the son of, the vice president from season 1 of Vought, who was breastfeeding her newborn son and who, Homelander famously also breastfed from and was a little jealous of. And then Homelander, if you'll recall, got angry at her and burned her eye sockets out. And then I think burned down her entire home. And then there was a throwaway line that her son was found 18 miles away or something. And then it was just sort of left oh, okay, well, maybe who knows what happened there. But now it becomes clear he teleported the fuck away, which makes him a future protagonist or antagonist against Homelander, because Homelander literally just murdered his mother, and he clearly has very strong teleportation powers and is clearly very clever and
precocious.
Yes. So
yes, that was the thing I was so excited to tell you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was like, that was that Teddy Stillwell,
Teddy Stillwell, yes,
kid.
thank you.
That's the thing I was so excited to tell you, but I knew you'd figure it out before me. God
I'm
bless
sorry.
Forget it.
I'm sorry.
Forget it. Forget it. The show sucks.
Kaveh, what did you... Okay, Kaveh. So they go to...
I'm back. You got me back.
Okay.
You said my name and it automatically calmed me. I'm going
to ask you something within your wheelhouse here.
Yeah.
So Frenchie and the woman... who... Kimiko, right?
Kimiko.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Frenchie and Kimiko go... So they're trying to track down... the members of this other superhero group, the leader of whom is basically Captain America. He's Captain America to the other guy's Superman. And he died in what was supposedly a nuclear accident, but it becomes clear that that was all a cover-up. And Billy et al. Think that he was actually killed by some sort of weapon that could take out someone as powerful as,
Homelander.
As Homelander. So they're trying to figure out like who took him out and what was that weapon. And so they're tracking down this guy's former group because there are other superhero teams that have come before the Seven and that kind of even exist in tandem, but they're lesser than. So, one of the former teammates is now at this Disneyland style resort doing a tribute to, she was the, ex of, this guy. What was his name?
Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy.
I was like, little Bobby Soldier.
Little drummer boy?
Yes.
Which is actually another character I think is called
Really?
Little Drummer Boy.
Oh
yeah, but he is Soldier Boy.
Okay. And that's soldier spelled appropriately, not like Soulja. Like
no, not like
the rapper.
No, that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's Soldier Boy played by the dude, or he's going to be played by the dude from Supernatural.
Oh. One of the ones they hoped was gay, and then he kissed, and then they killed him.
I never watched the show.
Me neither.
Yeah,
all I know is fandoms.
Yeah, I don't know. That does sound interesting though. But
okay.
Yeah, so he's the one they go. The Crimson Countess is the woman.
Yes.
They're like Scarlet Witch.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Who has like energy powers of some sort.
Yeah, she can like throw out like a murder ball.
A murder ball.
And so this is my question to you, because Frenchie and Kimiko confront her and she runs and she throws a murder ball and they duck. and it hits a probable teenager playing Homelander, like as like a teenager plays like Goofy at Disneyland.
Yeah, totally.
And just fucking explodes him in their guts, like guts spray over everything. Like his entire head slices off. Mm-hmm. So, was that realistic?
100% accurate.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many times in my training I ran across victims of energy blasts.
Classic murder ball here, guys.
In the medical terminology, we would say that's a pathognomonic feature of an energy blast.
Yeah. Look, his kidney was found 3 miles away. Classic energy ball.
Actually, you made that even sadder because I thought that was a sad part because Kimiko,
yes.
the female, she's like expressing all this.
And hold on, you say the female, in case people didn't listen to the previous episode, she's known as the female in the comic books, so that's how Kaveh remembers her, and the comics were very sexist, and this show is less or not at all, I don't think.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how we refer to her.
So yeah, Kimiko hold on a second. Miyashiro is her full like character name.
Oh, but it's Kimiko though, right?
Kimiko, yeah. Her last name is Miyashiro.
Oh, Miyashiro is her last. Okay.
So anyways, she's there, and they're at this Vought entertainment. It's like their Disneyland, basically. And you could see how sad she is because she's never had a childhood herself. Her and her brother were like kidnapped by this terrorist group and forced to like do all this awful stuff. So you can see how much she wants to have that innocence, how much she misses it. And then she sees this horrible thing happen kind of because they're there. And she feels then even more guilty being like, oh my God, now I just stole all these kids' innocence by them seeing this horrific thing happen right in front of them. And then on top of that, you're totally right. That must have been a kid inside that suit.
Absolutely. That's just some like minimum wage worker that just got
heartbreaking.
Murdered. Yeah.
That's heartbreaking. Although I will say this, there's one thing I really like about this show is that they don't shy away from the fact that like, there's going to be casualties whenever there's bullshit violence. It's not going to be, there's going to be casualties. Like I have a real guilty pleasure watching in its Animal Kingdom. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's a garbage TV show that is just garbage on so many levels. But I sort of like it because it takes place in Oceanside, California, which is an area of the state I really love. And in it, there's like this crime family, and you're supposed to like them, even though they pull off all these crimes, the shooting, there's gunfights all the time, all this horrific violence is happening, but no innocent people ever get hurt in this, which is total bullshit, right?
Right.
Because when that happens, you have to really deal with that, the consequences of that. This actually shows that, like, if you're going to have a fucking gunfight in the middle of public, you're going to fucking get people hurt. Innocent people are going to get hurt.
And we talked about this in our first episode. It's why one of the things that has stayed with me even through season 3 is Huey's girlfriend at the very beginning dying from A Train blasting through her. It's so useless and fucked up. And like A Train it's not even like the Avengers fighting aliens. It's just, he's just running. Yeah. And
that's another interesting thing that happens in this season is that Huey and his boss, who are like now part of this, federal organization to help control superheroes. They talk in terms of metrics, like how many innocent civilians civilian casualty loss is down 30%. We're doing great.
Yes.
It's crazy. I love that they actually address that as a metric. Anyways, okay. So there's that scene. There's that whole thing. Well, what else happens?
Okay. So maybe there's so much I want to discuss, and I don't want this to get out of control.
Too late.
I know. And I'm wondering whether we talk about, and this is something I think any podcast recap show struggles with, is like, do we address it? Because there's a lot of like thematic things I want to talk about, but I also want people to understand what the plot line is.
Do you know what I think we should do? Is instead, my mistake was I was thinking we should go through this beat by beat of the episode, but I think we should just go through like you were kind of doing before I sidetracked you, which is like, talk about the different characters. So you kind of talked about Butcher's story through it a little bit. Maybe we could just complete Butcher's story.
Yeah.
And then talk about like everyone else's. I was about to
get back to him. So Butcher he's tracking down another member of that original team with Soldier Boy, who's known as Gunpowder, that we referenced earlier, played by, what's his name?
Sean Patrick Flannery.
Thank you. I loved so Gunpowder is that superhero's name. And at first I was like, what's his superpower? Because it seems like he's just covered head to toe in guns. And now, like 20 years after his prime, he's literally at like the fact that this was filmed, probably at least months, if not a year before the NRA just had their conference, the week after the Uvalde shooting. It's incredible it really pinpoints how amazing this is. It opens with Billy walking through the metal detector, getting the beep, saying, "Oh, sorry," and handing over a big ass handgun to the security guard, who takes a look at it and says, basically like, "Cool gun. Okay, you're good to go." And then the camera pans away and it's like, oh, he's at the NRA meeting, basically. It's not the NRA for legal
VRA.
reasons.
They call it VRA.
Well, because it's run by
Rifle
VOD.
Association. Yeah.
He's there to see Gunpowder.
One quick thing. I agree. It was a really smart thing, really accurate, but there's one thing I call bullshit on. And how could they have known this? Well, no, they probably could have known this. But there's one thing about this that is not accurate. And it's that when he goes to this gun thing that Vought holds, this big gun convention, they allow him to take his gun inside. In reality, in these right-wing conventions, like, they're never going to let people bring their guns inside because they really don't want to be shot.
Literally what my husband turned to me and said, like, oh, the NRA in this universe doesn't want guns at their convention.
Exactly.
Or is fine with guns at their convention. Yeah. You're totally right. It's like reality is somehow even like more
worse.
Fucked up,
yes.
More hypocritical.
Yes.
So, Billy goes into this convention. He threatens Gunpowder. He tells Gunpowder that he has information that he received from Mother's Milk in another storyline, showing that he made a complaint about Soldier Boy harassing him. And okay, so here's another place where I want to talk more generally about themes. In that, so when we were at Vaultland, it was all gay pride. And I think that was explicitly done, to feed into this same hypocritical narrative. So when we go to this Disneyland stand-in, there are pride flags everywhere. There are, there's a lot of like jokes about like the snack stands are all named things that are like pro, like LGBT, and there are balloons. There's a lot of rainbows everywhere. And then another storyline that is ongoing, that we don't really have to get too much into here. I don't think we have to get too deep into it, but A-Train is trying to rebrand as the African American superhero because the Seven has just gone through this bad shit with a Nazi. And he is also past his prime and fucking up. And so he's desperately trying to hold on to his spot. And so has quite, cynically he's hired a PR person played by the amazing actor from Better Off Ted and several other things. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name.
I don't know the actor's name, but I love that scene. His character's name is Seth.
Yes.
And he was in one of the first 2 seasons. Do you remember him from before?
Malcolm Barrett is the actor's name.
He's great, and the look of so he works for Vought.
Disgusted.
He's one of the writers, and he's so filled with shame that he's like been pulled into this, and he hates it.
Yeah.
Do you remember who he was? He was the guy who was in the support group. So he was like a writer. He's one of the writers for Vought, so he helps them write some stuff. And then the first season, I think, he's in that support group where Billy walks in, and he's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you people? Why aren't you mad like I am?" And he's the guy who had his dick frozen off he was fucking the
There's a throwaway joke about how he doesn't have a dick.
Yes, that's him.
Oh my God.
I am so happy when I notice something that you don't in this show.
Thank you. I can't wait to go back and rewatch. Thank you for telling me that, because I remember like A-Train makes a throwaway joke like, well, you don't have a dick. And it's and I was like, does he not have a dick?
You're like, that's a weird thing to say. Is that what guys say to guys? Is that like a guy? It kind of is, to be honest with you. Like a guy would say something like that.
Well, okay.
I love that scene. just because of how good he is of acting in that scene.
I love him. Malcolm Barrett is chef's kiss. Okay. But to get back to my point, we've got, so on the one hand, Vought is using, pride to push their agenda. They're using Maud, who has come out as bisexual. Is that her name? Maud?
Yeah. Mauve. Which is, Maud is something we're familiar with. Mauve is something I'm not. But yeah Mauve.
So,
or Maeve. I'm sorry, Maeve.
That's right. Because it's Brave Maeve's, like, fish tacos or something. It probably wasn't fish tacos, but that would be funny.
It could be in the Inclusion Kingdom, you mean?
I only I only thought of it because I just ate fish tacos last night.
Yeah,
but,
no, I thought you were making like a layered joke.
It would be a very funny lesbian joke as well. But okay, so yeah, my point being that the evil corporation is using a good thing, pride, combating homophobia to push a bad agenda. And when we get to, and that comes first, and then we get to Billy Butcher facing off with Gunpowder, and the way he tries to get Gunpowder to get on his side and give him the necessary information about Soldier Boy is that he uses homophobia to push his agenda by saying, hey, that guy molested you and I have the information. If I release this information, your homophobic base at these gun shows are going to drive you out of town. So you should do what I say.
Yeah.
And I love that juxtaposition of like a bad actor, subverting a good intention for a bad result, and a good actor using a bad intention for what he hopes is a good result. And I also think that kind of speaks to Billy's character arc, because by the end of this episode and by the end of that specific storyline with Gunpowder, we learn that Billy does take the superpower drug in
V24.
order to fight V24 in order to fight him and to not just win, but to, in true The Boys fashion, to completely obliterate him.
Let me ask you a question. So in that scene, you see the Billy character get superpowers and use them viciously against a soup.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm curious to know how you felt when you actually saw it, because I don't know what their intentions were, but I would think in most settings like this, when you see these human underdogs get their asses kicked for years by these superpowered bad guys, you would be rooting for them. How did you feel when Butcher did what he did to Gunpowder, which is kill him?
I was horrified. I felt horrible. Like my partner, actually, it's funny because he said, like, oh, but wouldn't it have been better if he killed him with guns? Just like for the, because he's the gun guy. And I was like, no, this is actually kind of worse because, I mean, to me, because I think they've set up, because, oh, and I'll tell you something else. I'm sorry to keep saying what my partner says, and we should maybe just have him on because I think he's got a lot of really interesting insights.
I do want to hang out with him. I've never
You
really,
should. You should.
Yeah.
So this was actually, this is what I should have led with, is that he said, after that scene was over, in addition to the gun thing, he said, what's interesting is that they set up Billy as someone who is opposed to superhero powers, but after this episode, it makes it seem like he was just jealous of superhero powers.
Oh, that's really interesting, especially with that dream sequence, like you mentioned beforehand, where he's sort of being taunted by him. And it's a question of manliness or being able to defend your loved ones.
Yeah. And Huey's storyline at the same time is a question of manliness. So at the same time, we have Huey, who is, has no superpowers and is dating Starlight, who does have superpowers. And, again, my partner's like, how many fucking jars are in their house that need to be opened? We get it.
That's just that is so the premise of that is that he can't open a jar. He needs her to help him do it. And he gets so frustrated by it. But it is one of those little tiny things that define manliness by on these small little micro levels. Like a woman will be like, "Can you open this for me?"
You open this?
Then and I'm a pretty like open-minded. I don't get too wrapped up in masculinity and all that nonsense. But like when that happens, I'm like, oh yeah. Like I go like full on into it. Like I'll pop like an aneurysm, like trying to open that damn pickle jar because I'm like, I have to open this pickle jar or everything about me is in question.
Right. And we've done it too. Like I have taken like one like slight try at it and then handed it to him because I'm like,
I have people for these things.
Yeah, and also like who like this? Like that he can,
like this.
It's like when he slides the check to me so I can do the tip, calculation. It makes me feel good to do 20% of the total. Like it's true. I'm like, oh yeah, that's $10. we're actually it was 2 falafels. That's fine. So like it's the same sort of thing, but yeah, it is indicative. It's an easy sort of metaphor for talk, and so Huey tries and breaks a jar, cuts himself, so he's literally hurting himself for toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
So, it's on the nose, but you know what? Like, the world's on fire. Who cares? Give me on the nose metaphors. I love it. like 10th grade Rebecca in AP English is like, yes, let me just I'll write a fucking essay about this. So yeah, he cuts himself and then goes off and does a thing that he was supposed to do with her and would probably have been done better if she was there.
Yeah, without him injuring himself. Okay, I think there is one major storyline to then discuss now at this point. I think we covered the major ones. MM's storyline is still kind of weak. He's still kind of building up, hoping we're going to get more of him. But there is a major one with Homelander, right? So tell us about that one.
Okay. So, first of all, Mother's Milk, let me just say real quick, when he first showed up this season, he wasn't even in the season recaps I watched to try to catch up. That's how underutilized he was. So I'm really loving his storyline. And I will get to the Homelander thing, I swear. But I love the way that MM's storyline is basically he was obsessed with bringing down the soups, realized that it was destroying his life and that he should focus on his daughter. And at the same time, you have Billy obsessed with the soups. And then at the same time that MM realizes that I say realizes, but I'm not totally sold on this idea, even though it's presented in the show as being very rational. Yeah. It's the idea that he can't be a good father until he resolves this past of Soldier Boy and these soups murdering his family. And so he can't be a good father to his daughter until he takes care of that. And it's presented as oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I think there are hints that it doesn't, which we can get to later. But did you want to comment on that before?
No, I think that's brilliantly said. And I agree. That was one part of this episode where they're like, hey, you need to go do this crazy batshit thing so you can be a good father. And I'm like, that sounds like, yeah, I'm like, that sounds like it was written by a dude who was like, I have to fucking go out and have hookers for my family's sake.
Yes.
I need to do this for my family, okay? Yes. I'm going to have some hookers so then I don't so I can focus on my family. I need to focus.
I just got to get it out of my system.
Yeah, got to get the toxins out.
Then I could be a good father.
Exactly.
So at the same time, we have Billy, who has spent decades now trying to exact revenge and destroy soups, suddenly discovering a love of a child and kind of starting to accept the idea that maybe it is okay to take a step back and not be a terrorist. If you like, maybe a terrorist gets shit done, but also maybe you have a son who you need to focus on, and it's not his son, and that makes it all the more poignant. It's Becca's son with Homelander. And that child needs someone. And to be fair, like, we could also contrast this at the same time with Homelander talking about how he was not born. Like, Homelander, from his own, opinion, spoken to a teenage girl who is, considering jumping off of a building to kill herself. Homelander goes to save her for the press, but then learns that his Nazi girlfriend, Stormfront, has $1 million babied herself. When I say I screamed with laughter, there were so many film. There was an Untouchables reference. There was a reference to Homelander's assistant tells the camera person, "Don't be afraid of zooming in. You're not." And then she says the name of the cinematographer from.
Who was that? Did you know?
Yeah, well, I didn't, but my partner, who's a film buff, knew. She said the name of the cinematographer from like Blade Runner
2040 or whatever.
Yeah, like who's like known for like the wide shots and stuff. Right. There were so many like weird but very funny film.
What was the Untouchables reference?
So somebody, I only wrote down Untouchables on my list. Somebody said, I think, somebody said as though we're the Untouchables. Shit, I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
Damn it, that does sound familiar.
Yeah, I should have watched more. I should have written down more, but
that's what did you think about that scene with the annual suicide save?
Yeah. So I love that. And like I immediately saw where that was going. Like clearly this girl's gonna die and it's gonna be horrific. But yeah, so she Homelander forces her to kill herself because he has a breakdown after seeing his the love of his life, a Nazi, kill herself, and it's broadcast on live TV, which shows up on billboards that he sees. And so as soon as he starts confessing to her that he is basically Jesus and the love of his life has just killed herself. And at that point, it's like, okay, he's going to force her to die as well. But yeah, there's a lot of, it's just a lot of, I loved his whole monologue, like just really filling in the gaps of how he feels he is better than humanity.
Yeah.
And I forget where I had started this somewhere, but again, I'm on
muscle
relaxers.
Distracting you like every 5 seconds I interject. So I don't know how you could focus.
Well, okay. So yeah, I'm on muscle relaxers. So I forget where I started, but.
Well, no, we were talking about Eminem, and we sort of talked about how his story seems to be building. And now we're talking about like Homelander and how he's starting to be more frank with where
it was how
what he believes.
Homelander in that in his he has like a little speech to her where he says like, I was not born, I was an immaculate conception. So Homelander doesn't see himself as having parents or some sort of like family that raised him. And so you've got these two other characters that are making important decisions, and one of them started off with the right decision. Personally, well, I don't know, like this is what makes it interesting. The right decision in terms of like, do you stop these villains if it means abandoning your children when the people you are stopping, like Homelander, had no parents to guide them. Homelander literally says in that speech that he had no guiding principle. There was no one he looked up to. He saw himself as Jesus Christ. So you have here, there's a child with Homelander's powers who currently his mother is dead. His father is a sociopath that's, off in the wilderness. And his only father figure is Billy Butcher, who has just decided that he's going to give up his quest.
Humanity.
He decided to give up.
He does that.
Yeah,
right.
the other. Yeah, he's given up his quest to stop the Supes in order to be the father figure to this child.
Yeah.
And this other, Mother's Milk, who had tried to raise his daughter, but then decided to give that up in order to stop the Supes. And it's which is the better choice? To stop the sociopaths who are sociopaths because they did not have parental figures.
Yeah.
Or be the parental figure for the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's part of what makes Homelander so, I don't want to say relatable, sympathetic. It's the thing that makes him sympathetic is that
he had nobody.
He has, and he knows that. And there's a part of him that is not only empty because of that, but sad because of that. There's a sadness to him. And that a lot of that's because of the actor who plays him.
He's amazing.
There's so much sadness in him because of that. And in this episode, he's starting to be you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to be sad. I'm going to be you're almost oh, good for you. You're empowering yourself. If it wasn't so terrifying. But he's I am not going to say sorry anymore. I'm not going to pretend you're the hero. I'm the hero. There is no man in the sky other than me. Right. I'm the only one. It's me. And then he, at the birthday gala, then reveals that part of his thinking to the world, which I think I'm really excited to see where the show goes next. But that's where I think the show is going to be interesting is, how are they going to make him now this full-blown, open villain without trying to keep us somewhat engaged with him sympathetically? Because where I think it's going, and I could be wrong, but you remember how, when Mother's Milk's Marvin's ex, what is that, her husband or her boyfriend?
I think they're married because he's been there a while now. I have so much to say about this too.
So her new man, I think you're probably going to talk about it. Her new man sees this open breakdown on air of Homelander saying how he's hey, I am a hero. You're not. I am better than you.
And the smile on his
eyes
face.
Open up.
Oh
he's
God.
Someone's speaking to me.
Yes.
I'm wondering if they're going to turn this into almost a Trumpian thing.
Yes.
People are going to be he's saying what's on his mind.
I fucking absolutely agree with you 100%. I stopped it when it cut to him and he started smiling. I paused it. I turned to my partner and I was like, do you know who that guy is? He's like, I was like, that's Marvin's ex-wife's new husband.
Yeah, exactly. Who's been pushing superhero stuff on his kid the whole time.
Yes. And Marvin has, and so this is also Marvin has been accepting of that and trying to, so I think this also really speaks to, marginalized people trying to be and being socially pressured into being more accepting of white people or the general majority, but usually white cis hetero men who give even the slightest amount of lip service to being an ally. And it's well, you can't push them away. If you push them away, then who do you have? And what I believe, and feel free to send your letters to Kaveh to get me off the show. Those are actually snakes in the grass who are just like waiting for the right Nazi to come along.
Right. Someone who says what they believe in and think without using the phrases that they don't like. Yeah. Exactly. No, I think that's something really interesting. I'm really hopeful that the show goes there.
I am too.
I was pretty happy. I thought this was a good episode, right?
Kaveh, I loved it so much. I mean, I told you I made notes even if I didn't understand them all. Wait, now I'm looking at I'm going to just, so I'm going to go through my notes. I only took a few. Marvin broke his smoke detector, because Marvin was looking at, he was focused on, thinking about catching and killing the Soups while his daughter was over and he was cooking her dinner and the smoke detector went off. So he runs out and he grabs it and breaks it. It's like Marvin is literally breaking down the safety protocols that are keeping his daughter safe and alive in his home.
Oh, wow.
Because of his obsession.
That's really deep. I don't think they meant that, but the fact that you saw that is fucking awesome.
Again, Kaveh, AP English does bad things to you.
I did AP English too. I didn't come up with shit like that. That was great.
Oh, the tiki torches. That's another thing I wrote down. Oh, yeah. For Stormfront's funeral pyre, they had a bunch of white supremacists marching down the street with tiki torches. I loved that. Kimiko saying that she said literally when she was talking about seeing those children scarred by that guy blowing up at Disneyland. She says like this poison inside me broke me. That was right before Billy injects himself with that poison.
Oh, wow.
It is, it's already, I think, it's kind of obvious, like that you're rooting for the regular people. Oh, they can just take temporary superpowers and then beat the supervillains and then go back to being normal heroes. But I think that really underlined very well that it's not even though it's
a line has been crossed.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
It's 24 hours, but this is a metaphor, and he has dipped into that evil in order to, but does that mean he was wrong to do it? Not necessarily. Who knows? What does it take for good to triumph over evil? Do you need evil to triumph over evil?
Yeah.
That goes back, that's the history of
man, we are getting fucking
humans.
Deep into this shit. I love it.
I'm sorry. That's it. That's all I had.
Okay, I'll end on this then.
Okay.
If you have a favorite line, tell me. My favorite line from this, the thing that made me laugh like really loud in an obnoxiously loud way, was in the birthday gala special where A-Train introduces the two hosts, the two co-captains, Starlight and Homelander. And Homelander and him cross, and Homelander gives him that fake hug, and he whispers to him, "I see your girdle, you fat fuck."
Yes!
And the way he said it was so vicious and hilarious. It was uproarious laughter coming from me. It was insane. It was so funny.
It really betrays something dark within my own soul. But every time he fat shames A-Train,
right? Who's like a healthy, normal looking dude.
Yes, he's like a fit person. So I think that is, I think in part what makes it funnier, like that he's doing it to a superhero, and like I feel bad for laughing. I feel bad for laughing, but it is so funny and so
he delivers
awful.
A line so fucking well.
Everything he says, but next you have to like warn me in advance, because I'm a big picture viewer, so that's why I have a lot of Joseph Campbell-esque
yeah,
like
that's great
mythology stuff to talk about. But when you ask me specifics, I'm like, Who's your favorite character? What's a character? I don't know.
No, hey, this is fucking complimentary hosting. That's how this works.
Yeah, you just have to tell me ahead of time, and I'll.
No, you just keep doing you. You're doing. You do you. Anyways, okay, let's get some plugs in then, and then end this episode.
All right. I'm at Rebecca Watson on Twitter. Or go to skepchick.org, skepchick.org. That's where you'll find all of my videos and blogs and whatever.
And follow me at Twitter at The House of Pod. Listen to my other podcast, The House of Pod, and all the places that people do podcasting and listening to podcasting.
Kaveh, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yeah, this is a blast. I'll see you in a week.
I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go now because I'm hungry. I haven't eaten yet.
Have you not